And good morning, racing fans. Jim Miller and David Kaplan down here for what is the final edition of this year's Derby show, Cap, because it's upon us now. The time is here. We're getting ready to load 20 horses into the gate for the first Saturday in May. This year's Derby, every Derby is always fun. I heard you talking on the show this morning, and you were saying, okay, the first 2 days of March Madness, you love. Opening day of baseball, and then Derby day falls in your top 5 also.
Oh, it's the best. And I know everyone's like, well, the first day of college football, first day of the NFL. It's all great. Super Bowl. The Derby for me, I like all horse racing, but the Derby is just, there's something gets my blood going.
And it should. I mean, it's the greatest 2 minutes in sports for a reason. This is a race that everybody's going to watch. Over $250 million bet on one race alone. And the thing that you find out, and we found it out last year for sure, it doesn't necessarily matter what racehorse looks the best going in, because a horse like Rich Strike last year comes out of nowhere off the Alsos, gets in and wins.
Well, I believe Rich Strike was put in with like a minute to go in the deadline. Yep. You and I are like, that horse has no chance.
Right.
Whoa.
Yep. We talked about, and that was really the only mention we gave of Rich Strike was that the horse drew in. We did so many shows prior.
81-1.
Yeah. And here's the thing. So 9 a.m. Eastern time tomorrow morning is when scratch time is. So if anybody wants to come out, they can come out before then. Then the Alsos come in. So we're going to talk about the field of horses here today, and we may not even mention an also eligible who could end up in a race because there's still about 24 hours before someone can get in.
At the last moment, somebody can.
Right, and the cool thing about it last year when the horse scratched, they could have waited till after and it could have been a field of 19, but they wanted to give them the opportunity. It was good horsemanship last year. So far, everybody's doing everything just fine, except for maybe verifying a little bit this morning, and that was a little scary situation too.
Yeah, verifying through his rider this morning, and then banged into a like a grandstand.
Yeah, like a barrier.
Barrier, and he's fine. And he was over getting a bath and eating some oats, and looked like he didn't have a care in the world. So he's no worse for the wear.
Yeah,
but that's scary.
Then the thing that you don't like, and we'll just start with verifying, is that what you don't like about a horse like that is, okay, this was just going onto the racetrack for works. What are you going to do when there's 110,000 people in there in the paddock, and then you're coming out of the tunnel? And for him from post 2, he's going to come out right as the crowd is roaring with the field coming out in the start of my old Kentucky home. That was enough right there to scare me off of this racehorse for the Derby.
Yeah, exactly right. You come through that tunnel, and I know they've redone the paddock at Churchill. It's much larger. I went down there the first time I went. This little paddock
for 20 horses, right?
For 20 horses,
right?
This is the Great Churchill Downs, and now they have made it much larger and much more modern. And so you come through that tunnel, and it's excitement and there's electricity. But until you get through and you come out and like, whoa!
Yeah.
The roar of 100,000 plus, pretty intense.
And here's the thing: go back. I mean, this was the mid-2000s. We had a horse that won the Illinois Derby by the name of Recapture the Glory. Louis Roussel was the trainer. E.T. Baird was the rider. The horse was going through the tunnel. In the tunnel, it's a little darker, and it's a lot of echoes, and that was going through the tunnel on Derby Day to go to the track. The horse reared straight up and fired E.T. off the back of the horse in the tunnel. He landed, hit the ground, wind knocked out of him, still got back on the racehorse and finished 5th. But these are younger horses. They're fairly lightly raced still. And they're never, ever probably going to face another audience or crowd like this situation.
No, even Pimlico or the Belmont, they've already been through it at the Derby. So it's going to be a really magical day. Hopefully the weather will be cooperative. It sounds like it's going to be good weather. So we should have a fast track, and we should have a hell of a race.
Yeah, let's take a look at the field for the Kentucky Derby. It goes as race number 12 on the Saturday card. Again, 1.25 miles for the Derby. Cap's favorite all-time athlete is the track record holder at the distance. 50 years.
50 years.
Can you believe it's been 50 years since Secretariat won the Derby?
Yeah, it's crazy to think. That horse went faster each quarter in the Derby. That's never happened before, and it's never happened since. And then he goes on and wins the Preakness, coming from dead last and winning clear, and then dominates the Belmont by 31.
And the Belmont was so awesome. It was so cool. Incredible. If you have a chance, go on to YouTube, pull up the video of Secretariat's Belmont. It was very cool. All right, with the field of 20, I think we have to start with the morning line favorite and then kind of work from there. So the 15 horses, Forte. This is the horse that was the Eclipse Award winner, was the 2-year-old champion. Couple of victories this year, but Cap, 3-1 in a field of 20. A horse like Forte, what do you make of the racehorse? And then when you're going to play the race, is this a horse that you're going to include in the Derby?
Yeah, I am actually May throw him in the back end of some superfectas if he comes running late, but I am not going to play this horse to win. First of all, there's no value. Now, you may get inflated odds. I was talking with Eddie Olczyk this morning, and he made an interesting point. Because of Rich Strike, Mind That Bird, Giacomo, you might see the casual bettor, not the hard-boiled degenerate like you and I that like to bet every day. They may say, you know what, I'm putting my money on a 30, 40, 50, 80 to 1 shot, and so there may not be as much money on the favorites. And so you might get 3 to 1, 4 to 1. I still think in the end, people like to go with the chalk, might depress it. There's no value there, and I'm not as in on Forte as others.
I'm with you. I completely tossed the horse out of my selections here, and you make a very good point about Rich Strike. I remember the phone calls you were taking last year on the air for like the week after. Oh my gosh, I wish I had thrown $10. Or oh, so-and-so threw $5 on it at a party and made all this money. So many people are going to do that. They're going to take the top 5 longest odds horses and just throw $5, $10, and it's going to churn and churn and churn and churn. I don't think you're going to necessarily see that 85 to 1. Those horses that should be 85 to 1 might be 50 to 1 this year.
Correct.
So because of that, you're right. It changes the value for a lot of other racehorses. Now, a horse like Forte, again, has won the last 2 races. I was not that impressed by the Florida Derby victory, only for the fact that I thought the horse should have won the race by 4 or 5 lengths and barely held off MAGE in the end and had to work to do it. So I'm with you. Forte's off my tickets here. I may be completely wrong. He's a very talented racehorse, but I don't know.
No Kentucky Derby experience. Lousy workout times. Now, that could be our horse is razor sharp. We're just going to get him a breeze. We're just going out to run a little bit. That's it.
Right.
No value. Those are the things I wrote here about Forte. I'm staying off him.
I'm with you on that. So Forte, a horse that we're both staying away from. Let's shift to the 5 horse, Tapit Trice. Now, Tapit Trice is 5 to 1 in the morning line. I think that line's shorter than what the horse is going to be. I think the horse will go off 6, 7, 8 to 1 in here. But Tapit Trice, again, a horse that's done everything right. 4 victories out of 5 lifetime starts. But Cap, this is a horse that kind of has to work out a trip from off the pace. Sometimes it works. A lot of times in a field of 20, it doesn't.
Correct. It is a deep closer. I mean deep. It's going to get a call at the back end, and all of a sudden, is it going to come running? And as you say, in a field of 20, you can get parked somewhere and you're done.
Yeah, I mean, maybe like you would do with Forte, maybe I use the horse underneath in my gimmicks, but this is the race to me of all the middling type of horses, the 8 to 1s, 10 to 1s, 12 to 1s, 15 to 1s. So I'm with you. I'm going to stay away from Tapit Trice as well for my tickets. Now, Cap, the cool thing, there's 18 others that are going to be in the gate. We've watched all these prep races for all these horses, seen so much. So I'm going to toss it to you. Who do you want to start out with in here? Who do you want to work with? Do you want to work inside out? Do you want to work with your contenders? Who do you want to start with for the Derby?
I want to start with a horse that was on this track when you and I were here a few weeks ago. Two Phils is trained by the great Larry Ravelli, who Jim and I are friends with. Love Larry Ravelli. He is a wonderful guy. He's a Chicago guy. Two Phils is a Chicago horse. So this horse is live, really live. I believe 10 or 12 to 1 morning line. And I think you're going to get every bit of that, although there are some thoughts now it might be the wise guy horse, so to speak. I like this horse, and I think it's live and has a shot.
Here's the cool thing. It becomes a wise guy horse because Larry's very personable, and so is Sheriff Ludbury, so there's been a lot of interviews with them this week, too. But when so much money comes in, people are going to see the Todd Pletchers. They're going to see the Brad Coxes. They're going to see those kind of names, and they're going to say, unless you're in Chicago, you don't necessarily know Larry Ravelli as well. But here's the thing about Two Phils. He didn't have to go to Churchill early because he's already won over the racetrack. He won the Street Sense there last year. Trained well here. Has only been there for a week, but they've schooled in the paddock, and the horse has done everything right. Morning gallops, the horse has done everything right. We just watched a video of Forte kind of stumbling with his footing this morning for his morning gallop. And like you mentioned, when you're looking at the Derby, I'd much rather take 12 to 1, 15 to 1 over 3 to 1 any day.
So the other thing is his last 2 workouts, bullet workouts.
Easy, too.
Easy.
So easy.
I mean, really running well, great stride length. 2 bullet workouts, which means he's the fastest that day of any horse that was training in a workout. And he also is the best buyer in the race.
Right, yeah, 101 buyer in the Jeff Ruby Stakes was very good. If there's a little bit of rain, even a touch of moisture in the track, it's going to benefit him. It will help his chances in here. So Two Phils, that's going to be my top selection in the race. So I'm going, and I have to. I've pumped this horse up so much in that, so I'm going to go with it. The other thing that was really cool, and I sent you the photo earlier on in the week, nobody really knew until I threw it out there, and people were kind of in shock. Larry Ravelli appeared in the Blues Brothers.
Right, the original, not a remake here. He was one of the kids dancing in front of Ray's Music Emporium in Calumet City.
Yeah, it was very cool.
Oh my God, that is a phenomenal sidebar.
The guy had some moves too. I was proud of him. I had to give him a little bit of grief. I'm like, why do we never hear about this?
How about that?
It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So it was good to see that for Larry Ravelli. All right, now you had Edzo on the air this morning, and Edzo made his selection. So we'll talk about his 2 selections next. So let's talk about the horse that he put on top that he said he's going to have every year, which is the 2 Verifying. We just talked about the fact that the horse got loose this morning and ran off. To me, that means you're keyed up and geared up in that. I think Verifying just send, and going to try to clear and wire the field.
Yeah, Edzo is on Verifying. It said that horse will be at the top of every one of his tickets.
Man, he's a brave soul.
He is.
But he's taking a stance, which is good.
He's taking a stance. He is also going to use the 9-horse Skinner. Now, my friend Doug Neckman, who gave out Giacomo, gave out Mind That Bird. He is a long shot player. He is on Verifying as well as one of his horses. Yes.
Really?
He's on Verifying and 2 Phils.
So last year I took this route of the horse that I thought was going to make the lead and take him the whole way around, and that was Messier last year. And Messier was forwardly placed until the lane and then kind of backed out of it. With Verifying this year, I think they have to send from the 2-hole. I just think there's so many others that are going to go in here because Rocket Can, I think, goes with the addition of blinkers. Jace's Road has to go.
100% going.
DERMA SOTOGAKE is the big question mark. I think he's insanely talented, and I think he could be tough too. So
what about Kings Barnes as well as a pace setter?
Has to go. And so last year was 22 and change. I think 45 and change to the half. This year, I still think it's 22 and change, maybe 46 to the half. But you saw basically, aside from Epicenter last year, everybody else backed out of it pace-wise. So we'll be curious to see. Now, Skinner's an interesting horse to me, Cap. I think that's going to be the wise guy horse in here. I think people are going to upgrade the Santa Anita Derby. Practical Move won the Santa Anita Derby. So to me, if I'm taking a horse out of that race, I'm taking the horse that won that race, the 10 Practical Move. And I know this was a horse you gave a little bit of a look to in your morning draft on ESPN Radio today.
I did. I like that horse. Back to Skinner for 1 second. First start outside of California for this horse. And that's not the only one in the race.
Right. And no works over the Churchill track.
Is doing the same type of thing.
Yeah.
So, but you talked about Practical Move, the 10 horse. It's also his first start outside of California. He must, in my assessment, be no worse than mid-pack. If he gets caught too far behind, I don't think he can run them down.
Sure.
But if he's mid-pack, not forwardly placed, right there in the middle, he's got a really good path, he can absolutely win this race.
Here's the thing. There's only 3 horses in the race that have posted triple-digit buyers on the career. We already mentioned 2 Phils with the 101. Practical Move is a horse that has back-to-back 100 buyers. Forte was the other one who posted a 100 buyer in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. So if you're a speed figure player, those are kind of the horses that you're working around a little bit, and then, I guess, spreading from there. Now, for those that like Forte, I think a lot are going to look to the 8 Mage in this spot too, only for the fact that Mage was the one that kind of improved running that race after Forte. My big question, Cap, with this horse is you have only 3 lifetime starts going into the Kentucky Derby. That's asking a lot of a racehorse.
Right. This is start number 4. Who was the horse last year that I really liked? Tabia?
Yeah. That was the Baffert horse that transferred over. That had a huge figure in like start number 2.
But did not have a lot of experience and ended up getting caught in the crowd and never, ever fired.
Yeah.
That's the problem I have with Mage. 4th start, ran 2nd to Forte in the Florida Derby. I just question its lack of experience.
Yes, and lack of experience is something that's going to be very tough. That's part of the reason I'm staying away from not only that horse and Kings Barnes, because they both only have the 3 lifetime starts. So I'm staying away from both. Now the 14 Angel of Empire, this was your top pick in the morning draft. I've heard so many people talking about Angel of Empire, and I agree. I think this is a very talented racehorse. I actually think Angel of Empire will be the second choice in the wagering here. 8-1 in the morning line. I think this horse gets bet down somewhere around 6-7-1.
Okay, so it's a deep closer as well, but it cannot get caught too far back. it also has had greatly improving times since they expanded it beyond a mile in some of its works. They're like, whoa, get a little more distance, that horse gets going.
Yeah.
So I really like Angel Empire.
And you make a very good point, because when you talk about regression or progression, well, Forte, it was a 100 buyer, then a 98 buyer, then a 95 buyer. He may regress to a 92, you never know here, whereas Angel of Empire went 85, 89, 94. What happens if that goes to a 96, 97? The horse is right there. And the horse won the Arkansas Derby very impressively. But if you like Two Phils, this is a horse that beat Two Phils 2 starts back in the Risen Star.
Like, I could easily see this be Angel of Empire, Practical Move, Two Phils, like all right there.
Yep. All right. A massive price that I actually don't think is deserving of 50 to 1 is the 7, Reincarnate. Now, Reincarnate, again, if you like Angel of Empire, I think you have to give consideration to Reincarnate, because this horse was bet all the way down to 3 to 1 in the Arkansas Derby. Ran a respectable race, finished third in there. I think that horse will be somewhere maybe more around, say, 30 to 1.
Okay, but just like I said to you, when they increased the horse we were just talking about, Angel of Empire, beyond a mile, boy, horse looks good. Beyond a mile, this horse's speed times have come down. So how will he handle coming through the tunnel, 100,000 or more people, and then, hey man, you're running against the best in the world.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. All right, there's 2 horses from Japan in here. Continuar on the outside, who I'm not going to talk about much.
20.
Yeah, I don't think the horse has much of a shot.
I do not either.
DERMA SOTOGAKE, the 17, I think does have a shot.
That's who Jonathan Hood, my partner, is picking to win the race.
And I think Hoodie's on a horse. I picked this horse third in there. Here's the thing, you go back to Dubai World Cup day, Cap. We watched those races, and it was turf, dirt, didn't matter. These were like the best horses in the world. And Japan dominated at all levels. Turf, dirt, the Dubai World Cup Classic, I mean, everything. DERMA SOTOGAKE won the UAE Derby easy going away. But I guess the question is, a little bit of speed in the 17 hole, that's going to be a tough choice. You almost have to go.
You got to go, or you're going to get left behind. And how am I making up all this?
Right. And that's the question, because this year, and it's important, the starting gate for a long time at Churchill Downs was 14 horses, then an additional gate.
The auxiliary gate.
The auxiliary gate. Now it's a 20-horse starting gate, so it's a full 20. So what it means is people used to want 14 or 15 because he had a little bit of a gap out of the gate there, too.
I'm not going to get jostled.
Right.
And I can go.
Right. So it changes a little bit this year. So pace scenario-wise, it definitely just kind of changes how everything may unfold in this field. So I'm going to be curious to see kind of just what we get overall race complexion-wise in the Derby. But if I go to David Kaplan and I say, Cap, Derby day, you're going to sit there. You're going to watch the TV in the man cave. You want to see the race unfold a certain way, and you want to see someone emerge clear on top late. How are you seeing this race playing out, and who are the horses that you're looking to in the Derby?
Okay, so I told you who I thought was going to be on the front. I do think you're going to see the 14 horse coming hard at the top of the stretch. Whoa, there's Angel of Empire. There's Practical Move. There's Two Phils trying to hang in there and battling. And I ended up coming up with 10, 14, 3, and 4. 10, 14, 3, and 4 Confidence Game, who I think is going to give you some really good odds. Confidence Game, for me, is a very live horse. On the 29th, it ran a 46-3, 4 furlongs. That is rolling, and that's not that far back.
And here's the thing about Confidence Game. We didn't even talk about the racehorse, so let's touch on Confidence Game because, like you mentioned, and we talked about Two Phils, a win over the Churchill track. Confidence Game has a win over the Churchill track as well, and that was around 2 turns. If, again, there's like a 25% chance of rain. If it does rain, this horse moves up greatly as well, too, because Confidence Game won that race in the slop in that last out. I think you're going to get your 20 to 1 on this horse, too.
I agree. Now, he has 2 wins on the lead, but he rallied to win the Rebel.
Yeah, and circle the field,
Correct. So he has said, I really don't care. You guys want to run out there? I'm going to stay back here. You guys want to keep it a reasonably decent pace, not a hot pace? I can run right up there with you, too. Confidence Game's live.
And here's the thing, and you talk about these late closers, Cap. All right, you're a late closer if you're having to make this massive move at the 16th pole. If you're at the top of the lane at Churchill Downs, you have basically a quarter of a mile, and you're in the mix, it's okay. So even these late closers, it's where they make the move. Because even last year, Rich Strike was already on the move in the turn.
Correct.
And then worked his way through Sonny Leone with a tremendous ride. So
his ride, I went back and watched it again the other day.
Yeah.
He's way the heck back there, and all of a sudden you see him navigating, and then he got cut off, slid over, there he goes.
He did everything right in that race. So,
oh, man.
A horse like Angel of Empire, it's a perfect thing. I mean, it's a similar running style. Settle back early on, and then determine where you want to make that move. But I could see this horse sitting in 4th or 5th at the top of the lane and on the gas going. So it's one of those things where I'm with you. Pace-wise, I think Verifying goes. I think Hit Show has to get position. Kings Barnes has to go. Reincarnate's probably going to be close. I think Jace's Road has to go. And then the outside horses, Rocket Can adding blinkers, DERMA, SOTOGAKE. Don't get scared off. Don't think this is a race without a whole lot of pace. I think this is a race with a lot of pace.
I do too.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to look up and go, oh boy, look at those times. Who's coming running? And that's where I have it going to the 14 horse. So again, that's going to be my plays. 10, 14, 3, and 4. Zoop. Let's go.
We're so similar here. I have 2 fills on top. After that, I have Practical Move in the mix. I have Angel of Empire in the mix, DERMA, SOTOGAKE in the mix. So I'm with you, just kind of looking at how things may unfold. My numbers are going to be 3, 14, 10, 17 cap. So if you're betting it, you can bet some of these horses to win in place because they're double-digit odds. If we box these things up in an exact and a trifecta, it's going to be huge if they run that order.
Oh, man. Can you imagine if any combination, because I'll probably throw DERMA, SOTOGAKE in with my exotics, these could pay really well.
Here's the thing about it, too. It's not that expensive to box up for the Derby. Okay, if you take a 5-horse box, so it's 20 combinations for the exacta. Okay, so for a couple bucks, it's 40 bucks. This is going to pay 4, 5, 6 times as much for the exacta. The try is a 50-cent trifecta wager. So if you think about that too, it's not going to be that expensive. 5 times 4 times 3 is not that expensive. That's 60 combinations, all right? For a 50-cent wager, it's 30 bucks. It's going to pay thousands if those run in. If you can knock the favorites out there, you can make some money.
You're going to do really, really well.
Yeah.
And if you want to play, the 10-cent superfectas are a lot of fun too.
Yeah, so there's so many options there for the Kentucky Derby. So Cap, my final question for you as we close things out for the Derby show, where are you setting up shop on Derby Day?
Actually at O'Hare Airport.
Really? Where are you headed?
I'm headed to Amsterdam.
Good for you.
Then to Brussels, and then seeing Bruce Springsteen in Paris.
You're going to be a busy man. Okay, so it's the beauty of sitting there and you got the Club Hawthorne app out in front of you. You throw it out on your phone, you can make your wagers, and then you can watch the race right there too.
Well, I'm actually going to bet my tickets at the Club Hawthorne Center tomorrow in Prospect Heights. I'll be out there with my brother. It's his birthday. We're going to hang out there, bet sports, bet horses tomorrow. So if you're coming out, come say hi. And I'll have my tickets, and then, bam, I'm going to have it on my iPad sitting there waiting for our flight. There it is. We won.
Here's the cool thing about it. So everybody's going to have programs available tomorrow morning to be able to get the whole field. Pre-wagering opens up tomorrow morning right after scratch time at Churchill Downs for the Derby. So early tomorrow morning, you're going to be able to watch and wager on races, but you're going to be able to place your wagers early tomorrow morning. I love the way you're playing it, Cap. I think we're going to make some money.
Yeah, I hope so. It's going to be a lot of fun. It's one of my favorite events, and to just sit there and already have my tickets in and just, all right, here we go. And then to win would be incredible.
It could be dangerous. Cap, internationally traveling with a big bankroll and making some money. I wish you the best of luck, my friend.
You're the man. Appreciate you. And then I'll see you soon.
That's right. We'll see you soon. Good luck to everybody with your Derby selections. This is our final edition of the Derby Show. We're going to be back. We'll talk about the Preakness in a few weeks, and we'll see if we have a horse that has an opportunity at a Triple Crown. Good luck.